the lifting of the party whip by WP, I think was a big shock for me. In the sense that I think it caught a lot of people, probably more socially liberal people, by surprise lah. There will be a lifting of the whip in such for this issue, and yeah, we can dissect that further lah. And I'm sure you have like this. You have a timeline or something in front of you that you can't wait to jump on and just and give people the details of everything that happened, right?
I mean, depends how specific you want to get into it, lah. But before we say that, what do you mean by lifting of the whip? Lifting of the party whip?
Yeah, so I think in the parliamentary system, like the different parties, like the leader of the party, it's like they have a means of basically getting the entire party in line to vote in a singular fashion on an issue lah, you know. So that's called the I think that's the role of the whip lah, right? The party whip, to literally get everyone in line, not literally, sorry, to figuratively get everyone in line to even whether you privately or personally disagree with something, to vote based on the party line. And so when the leader of the party lifts the whip, it means that he allows the MPs or the members of the party to express their views and vote freely without towing the party line. So in this case, the ruling party, the PAP, did not lift the whip, which meant that everyone has to vote for the repeal and for the constitutional amendment. Whereas Workers' Party lifted the whip. That means that they allowed each member of parliament, Workers' Party member of parliament, to state their beliefs or state their opinions and also vote in accordance to what they believed as well.
So basically what you're saying is that if you don't lift the whip, basically what I would see as a viewer or member of the public is that, okay, this is the party stance. This is what they feel. But when you lift the whip, you can get a feel of like, okay, 95% of this party feels this way, and there's a few who feel the other way. So there's almost more transparency lah, right?
I would hesitate to just say that it's about more transparency, because the whip is about voting. I think what's important in parliament is the vote, right? Who you ultimately vote for. Like, you can privately or personally disagree with something, but you have to vote for something. That's what the whip is about, like, you know. I don't think the whip says that you cannot say that you have private objection to a certain thing. So you're still allowed to express yourself, but you have to follow. You disagree and you commit lah.
I see. Okay, because that is an important distinction, because a lot of people took to the floor in parliament, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people shared their views, and sometimes when you watch it also, it's like, this sounds like, I don't know, it sounds just certain terminologies and phrases lah. I think I was listening to Liao, what's his name?
Gerald Giam, is it?
No, not Gerald Giam.
Dennis Tan, is it?
No. Shit, what's
who?
his?
The PAP member or Workers' Party member or?
PAP.
Okay.
I will pull it up in a bit. But basically, let me see. So it was interesting because certain things stuck out lah. Like, you know how a big theme was about how their perspectives are shaped by their friends, and how sometimes it goes against their beliefs. It was Mr. Lim Biao Chuan, PAP MP of Mountbatten. I mean, the way he was saying, like, you know, for those that are homosexuals, you know, like those people who are homosexuals and all that. So it just felt like the use of the term also, like, you wouldn't say those people who are Indians, or you could. It just felt very jarring sometimes when you hear some of them say the things that sound like, no, but it's like what I would imagine my uncle or auntie, traditional uncle or auntie would say lah. Even though in the end he did vote for the repeal. But going back to the timeline, I mean, essentially at the end of 2 parliamentary sessions, the bill to repeal Section 377A, there were 96 votes, 93 for, 3 against, and with 0 choosing to abstain lah. And amongst those that were against, it was Dennis Tan, who's a WP MP, Gerald Giam, also WP MP,
Yeah.
and Professor Hoon Hien Teck, nominated MP. So those two from WP are the ones that I guess a lot of people were surprised by. Were you surprised by
Yeah.
that?
Like I mentioned, I was quite surprised by Workers' Party lifting the party whip for this action. Because the ultimate thing is that it came down to Pritam Singh's decision, right, as the leader of the Workers' Party, whether he would lift the whip for this. And him, I think so in this case, he, broadly speaking, you know how he justified lifting the whip, right?
Yes, but please go ahead.
No, yeah, I think he justified lifting the whip as saying that it's part of the process of democracy to allow a diversity of voices and viewpoints in Parliament. And I'm paraphrasing, right? So he found it important that to reflect the different voices, he would allow his his MPs to actually state their opinions and vote accordingly, based on that. So that was his justification, which I think later was later Shanmugam turned around and basically said that it showed a weakness in the Workers' Party, in the sense that the Workers' Party was not taking a stand on 377A and is trying to be all things to all men, to quote him exactly, which basically means they stand for nothing in general. So there's two sides. There's two ways. There seems to be two ways to look at this Pritam Singh's decision. But what do you think of it when you first heard about it?
I mean, on one hand, I thought that, okay, like the one thing that we have always spoken about, how PAP, there's no diversity of voices. It's either this or that. It's so binary. There's no gray at all. And it's almost like you speak to one PAP politician, it's almost like speaking to any one of them, because everybody is so dogmatic, So when I first heard he lifted the whip, and then I heard and saw excerpts of Gerald Giam and Dennis Tan, and I was like, oh, I mean, in some way that's good, we can't expect every political party to be completely uniform on every issue, because that is almost unrealistic, and you know how we have seen that if you go all the way left, if you're left leaning, that's not good. If you go all the way right, that's not good. And how you keep yourself in check is by having diversity of opinions around you. So when I first heard it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Okay, that sounds good. But then after thinking about it, it was like, ultimately it feels like it would hurt WP, because if you even on the individual level, it's going to be very clear to voters what the MPs stand for, those particular MPs, right? In some way, I mean, it's good that you can understand their stance, but to me, it feels like, wow, now everything the WP says, this will be at the back of my mind. That, there are people, it's not united. So that's where I'm still on the fence. But what about you?
Yeah, I find it hard to take away any positives from Pritam Singh's decision, to be honest. This coming off the back of the whole Raisha Khan incident, where basically I think Pritam Singh's leadership in the WP was questioned, right? What is going on in the WP ship, right? Why is there so much dissension within the ranks? Long time Workers' Party cadre calling out their leader and then eventually quitting the party. And Pritam Singh, whatever it is, there seemed to be a very long delay in taking decisive action taking decisive action in the case of Raisha Khan, right? That's one thing that I think we can all agree on, regardless of the he say, she say, whatever the facts were of the incident. It just seemed like it took a lot longer than it needed to take for him to resolve the issue internally within the party. And a lot of people pointed that to the weakness of leadership, even though I think there were also attempts to paint it as that's him allowing his members of allowing his party members to sort out issues themselves, right? But at certain points when shit hits the fan and one party member's problems becomes a problem for the whole party, that's when the leadership needs to step in, right, to stop worse shit from happening. So that's the backdrop of what a lot of people are saying about Workers' Party and Pritam Singh's leadership, really.
Yeah.
So in this case, to bring up the fact that he wants diversity of voices in a matter like this, right? Especially because it's this particular matter where it's about the decriminalization of gay sex, which on principle, I think we've spoken about this before, where the law just doesn't make sense. It's the fact that they don't enforce it, or it just doesn't make sense. It makes a mockery of the whole process of law. Plus, it's just discriminatory, right, against a particular minority of people. So it's not like allowing a diversity of voices, necessarily makes it a better kind of debate. You know what I mean? Like what you said earlier. Like what if you change what the Lim Biao Chuan was saying about homosexuals? You change the word homosexuals to a certain race, like minority race, like Indians or what, right?
Yeah.
Does him saying that something like that in Parliament, does that make a conversation better? Does it make you feel like, oh yeah, there's a diversity of voices? His views on race are equally as important as other people's views about race. It wouldn't, right?
If he starts every statement, right? I have Indian friends, but
Yeah.
I don't like the way they behave in groups. But I have Indian friends.
Yeah.
I have Indian friends.
And there's certain things about the Indian lifestyle that make me feel very uncomfortable. My personal beliefs. So if you were sitting at dinner table and someone said that, would you say, yes, thank you for sharing your opinion? This is what it means. It's a diversity. You'd be like, fuck you, get the fuck out of my house, right? That's the first thing you would do. So in this case, I just find it, and yeah, like what I think I hope I have said it on record before and nobody digs up some old shit that I said.
You got Indian friends, is it?
No, not about Indian friends, about the Section 377. I've always believed, I've always said that it requires a moral leadership, where you kind of come forward and say, hey, this law is not right, it's bad, it's discriminatory. And as much as it might be against a lot of people's personal beliefs and religion, we have to take a step to move past it, And that's what leadership is about: making unpopular decisions that are for the good of everybody in society, right? And then that's what I believe that that's what leadership should be, So as opposed to diversity of viewpoints, go ahead, please state your justification for a discriminatory law that doesn't make sense.
But
to me, it doesn't add to the debate, and that's so that's why I thought about it.